Good afternoon. This is Cohort 27. Our presentation is titled Building and Sustaining a Dynamic Learning Community. My name is Taren Nance.
I'm Leanna Mullen.
I'm Gina Yanuzzi.
The vision statement for Cohort 27 is as follows. Our vision is to create a cohesive learning environment
to ensure market competitiveness
for a sustainable and lasting impact.
Up first, we have Leanna with her part one.
So for our presentation, we decided to break up our learning community in essentially to 3 circles. And the first one being the PLC, our actual inner circle, which will be specifically just our cohort. And from doing a little bit of research, we found that a small group can provide members with the opportunity to engage more deeply and work more actively together, and also gives them a safe environment to have conversations that maybe they wouldn't have inside the actual online classroom model. And it's important to do that because otherwise the communication can get lost. That was something our members had talked about in our first discussion. And we want to be able to have that safe environment for people to feel like that they can have deeper conversations later in their actual online discussions. So in doing that, we think what Team 1 did in the beginning with Brian was great to have the online Facebook group, the Doc Wildcats 27. And then people don't feel like that they have to have that same formality of the Blackboard discussion. We can have more intimate conversations with each other and know that it's not going to go back to the professors if they're having a problem with something, or even just to have a casual conversation. And also, we also think we could take it to a next level by having the online Google Hangout. Currently, our group has been living this example that we've been meeting regularly. But we also think our cohort could benefit by meeting virtually every 2 weeks, kind of setting up a set time that we'd be able to all know that maybe, for example, every Wednesday at 8 o'clock that we're all getting online. And also to have smaller team meetings during the alternate weeks so that can be a productive time for the individual groups. And this can be, again, to have real meaningful time to working on our class projects or class discussions. And also have the casual time to work within smaller groups, maybe alternate PLCs, and to get to know each other a little bit more intimately. We also did find some research that some other groups have met online, and they actually found a lot of success by doing that. So that's what we're taking a note from their book and bringing it to our cohort. But now I'm going to turn over to Taren, where he's going to talk about the PLN in our outer circle.
For part 2, the outer circle, our group wanted to focus on blogs, which is an e-learning technique that's used for individuals to capture their thoughts within a written text that provides a safe platform as well. Basically, it's spawning off the idea of the private group that Brian created, and the fact that, once you're in that forum and your topic of discussion is clear and you've established, where your research is going to take you, you're able to communicate that in a blog, in kind of like a blurb, to be able to have other members of the cohort or the group to be able to respond to your thoughts. The research touches on many forms of the blogs. I believe we talked about Weebly and Wix as 2 forms that we can use. The blogs also add to building a sense of community, which is something that our cohort and our small group has established. The fact that we have a safe platform as well, and we're able to actually hone in how we really feel and what we really think about a specific topic and put it in a written text. And the communication from that blog is very critical to our overall development. My final point I want to talk about is the educational piece with the use of blogs, and the research touches on the ideal that when you are able to use a blog, it creates a richer space and a deeper intellectual avenue for individuals to travel down. So we need to make sure that within our cohort that we're establishing the types of communication that's going to lead to a deeper and richer outlook, and globally when we're finished with our cohort. Now we're going to introduce Gina for our third part.
Thinking globally, we wanted to talk about a lasting impact. And I know in week 1 or 2, I had posted about service learning. So we're coming back to that topic. And service learning, just in case we need clarification, because it's often misunderstood with volunteerism, service learning is a trifecta of academic study embedded within the community to give practical experience. So just to clarify that it's not simply showing up at an organization who needs help and giving them help, it is a trinity of those three focal points. Taking a look at some of the research around service learning that is specific to e-service learning, meaning the service learning is exclusively online. I took a look at a research article that had to do with a communication class in a master's program that was, again, completely online. And I thought the mindset that was emphasized for this online e-service learning project really captured the goals that we highlighted in our vision statement. So if you take a look at the quote on the screen, it's talking about civic responsibility. It's talking about building relationships within the community. It's talking about having real world skills, especially technological skills, and then emphasizing that the impact on the group's work for the community was the true value. Building off of that, in that particular article written by Tracy and Kaysen, there was the example of as I said, a master's program in an online communications class. And a part of the course had an e-service learning to build a 6-week parenting program that was going to be virtual and could be accessed by parents specifically looking for help in how to deal with teen issues. The reason I'm highlighting it is because what I found interesting was at the end of the course project, the professor reported in this article that 2 students were so inspired by the project that they wanted to take it further. Now, I did a little research because the study would not specify what university this was at, but it said a Midwestern university, and the article was written by someone from Wayne State University. So when I went out to their website, I couldn't help hypothesizing that one of the key articles on their website that was written in June of last year was that now something very similar is coming out of that college, an online virtual program for parents looking for help with elementary school children issues, and they're receiving a tremendous amount of grant money to make this possible. So yes, I'm hypothesizing that that was the connection, but it seems really close that something that started with coursework and embedded e-service learning had lasting impacts that are now leading to grant opportunities. So to highlight some of the e-service project features, if you'll take a look at the chart that's on the screen, the 4 that are in that green color were emphasized in a second article I looked at by Burrell, that embedding e-service learning projects emphasizes those key components we have in our vision statement: civic responsibility, application of skill specific to technological skill, peer learning, and non-linear. So for our cohort, that means that we're going to have an impact beyond our course. We're going to be able to build 21st century technological skills so we can remain competitive in the workforce. And we're going to learn from each other's unique backgrounds and use reflection in our program to help us accomplish all of those things. The research did identify that there can be some pitfalls to completely online service learning. One was a fear that if it's attached to assignments, grades could color the way that students think about their work. That wouldn't be a problem for us if we decided to take on an e-service learning project, because it's an initiative that we are embarking upon as a cohort, not because we're being dictated to do so in a course. The second was that specific to one research article I looked at, that the sample size was really so small and specific that the researchers didn't feel comfortable making a generalized statement. Again, it didn't really matter because where it found success, we as a cohort share most of the characteristics in the small sample size that did find success. And then 3 synchronous meetings were still vital, and there was concern that with schedules that might be problematic. But as you see here, we're already doing that, and it was even an assignment in one of our earlier weeks. So we can already get started thinking about an e-service learning project by scaffolding a plan, perhaps thinking about our 7-week course structure, beginning to think about who do we want to reach out to and provide some benefit to, maybe a nonprofit, maybe something that has to do with Wilmington University, and then go ahead and strike a plan for creating that product. So to piggyback off of that last piece, I'm going to pass it back over to Taren. He's going to walk us through the action plan that we have put together for your review.
All right. So just to recap, our Team 3 action plan proposal, we have 4 components, and they're specifically tailored to our individual parts within our presentation. I'm going to have Leanna read the first two.
So essentially for our first two, it was going back to that inner circle concept that we do think we should maintain that Facebook group that was already started by group 1. And then going the next step of setting up regular synchronous video meetings like these Google Hangouts, so we have a more interactive work experience.
For our third part, we want to create and maintain a blog website, as I mentioned before, either Wix or Weebly, just to, again, to enrich and enhance that online presence, ensuring that our educational and intellectual, minds are continue to be stimulated by putting that written text in that format.
And fourth and finally, developing an e-service learning project that we've agreed upon as a cohort as to whom we want to invest in and how we want to impact the world. We could take a look at putting that together in a MOOC format so it could be available to anyone globally, and perhaps creating some ties back to our university as to how perhaps that MOOC could be specifically helpful to our Wildcat University. And just to put a small plug in for additional context, some of us have talked about that we see this program as being a step to something next for us in our lives that may involve breaking out on our own, taking a look at consulting opportunities, or maybe even forming connections with each other in the cohort and building something external after our program. Building a product through our e-service learning project might be a great way of testing the grounds to see how well we can build something that's usable for the future.
The first component we identified within part 1 was safe risk.
So with safe risk, we were talking about the fact that that Facebook environment, that Google Hangout environment, it doesn't have that same sense of, formality that our regular meetings online with Blackboard are going to have, that we actually can try new things. The fact that, it took us 5 weeks to get with Team 3 to be able to do a project like this. And from doing those things and trying new things, it's good to do that now while we're in programs like this than when we're done with the program and don't have the same experiences. So that's why we think that in part 1, that's where the safe risk comes in.
Part 2, we thought about connective tissue because, again, those blogs are essentially pieces of our education, our intellect, our insight. And every time somebody else comments or adds to that, we're going to continue to connect with each other. It's all of our ideals that we've shared, even through our first 5 weeks. As Leanna mentioned, we've been meeting regularly through the Google Hangout, and we didn't realize that up until week 5, here we are now as a group connected and working together to create this product.
Like Taren and Leanna have said, we've been guinea pigs ourselves in Team 3 for many of these things. Just even talking about synchronous hangouts, here we are having a synchronous meeting. My third part, talking about a real world impact, we're already seeing that. Any opportunity you've already had to apply what we've been reading in our first doctoral class to your workplace is an example of real world impact. I know it's beginning to reshape some ways that I lead my professional team at work. And then, of course, the real world impact also suggests and beyond. How can we continue to not only see the impact in our small professional spaces, but then to think about that more globally? So, Taren, you want to leave folks with a food for thought here?
Yes, I will. Our final thought, it was just a question we're going to propose to ourselves, as long as all of you guys who are watching our video. Over the past 5 weeks, do any of your team dynamics legitimize the approach we are proposing? And as we all have shared over the past 5 weeks, being able to meet like this, having scheduled time to meet, has made all the difference in our group. We feel connected, we feel safe, honest, real, and we're able to just communicate in a way that would have never happened had we not decided to take this step. So I really appreciate Team 3 Strong. All right, well, we'll wrap it up. Thank you for your time. Big shout out to my team, Gina and Leanna. This is Taren Nance, and we're signing off. Wilm U.